Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Make these fights sooner than later. Listen, a lot going on in boxing, a lot going on at 168. 168 is coming like how 147 was. 147 right now is in shambles. You know, all those big names that were hanging around there, you know, Thurman already bubbled up to 155. Looks like he's going to be hanging around at 154. Spence and Crawford both sounds like both of those guys want to go up to 154. Ortiz is already at 154. So 147, still some good fighters down there, but it's just still not as hot as it once was. And you get down to 140, a lot of activity there, but you know, some of the big names from 135 bubbled up to 140. So that didn't do anything but make the division hot. But right now, as far as very, very interesting fights that can be made, we got to look at 168. You know, and I hear people calling for, you know, Benavidez and Canelo. And I happen to agree. There's no question in my mind, right, that Benavidez deserves a shot at Canelo. But also at the same time, you know, we got to be fair. He's earned his right to do what he wants, but it is frustrating when you see that the treatment that he's receiving. You know what I'm saying? But he's fighting twice a year. He's active. It's not like Canelo's sitting around, you know, for 2 years inactive. He's very active. But goddamn, the boxing fans want to see Canelo getting there with someone that's gonna make us say, "Here we go." Look. I think we got there when we saw Canelo and Plant. That had a lot of us like, here we go. There were some people who favored Plant to do the business over Canelo. Some said, nope, Canelo would get him. But we knew Plant could box, but it was like, this is going to be pretty competitive. Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders. There were a lot of people who backed Billy Joe Saunders to beat Canelo. But then you fast forward outside of Plant, outside of Billy Joe Saunders, I'm talking about, you know, recently, right? Ryder, Jermall, Charlo, that's just not it. And Ryder was mandatory, I get it, but that didn't really do much for Canelo and his profile. It probably did something for him fighting Jermall because he felt after he beat Jermall that, you know, like he said, this version of me, nobody can beat me. So Canelo really feels that no one can beat him. There was a time right before he fought Bivol, he wanted to fight Usyk and felt that he could go up to heavyweight and beat Usyk. I think we all know now that, you know, Canelo was taking it to the stupid. Even he realized that because he ain't talking nothing about going beyond 168 anymore. But when you look at 168, David Benavidez, this is a travesty in my opinion. I heard somebody saying the other day, man, David doesn't deserve the fight because his dad doesn't ever be quiet. His dad's always there saying things and being disrespectful to fighters. That has nothing to do with David. David Benavidez is you know, but my only thing with David Benavidez that makes me look at him a little bit weird is that he's working with Angel Heredia. And in my opinion, it's like I was telling a buddy of mine, right? Where he's like, man, why are you always on these fighters about these guys working with the Contis, the Heredias, the Usman Sajads, the Alex Cerizas? And my thing is, I said, look, they're pharmaceutical geniuses. There's no proof of them doing anything foul, right? But my thing is, if you have a fighter and you have 2 strength and conditioning coaches that they can choose, or 2 nutritionists that they can choose, right? One is Usman Sajad, or I said Heredia. One is Heredia, and one is an unknown. I was like, which one do you go with? And we both started laughing because I was like, why not go with the guy nobody knows? You know what I'm saying? They're both qualified, right? But why are people going with Angel Heredia? Why are people going with Conti? Why are people going with Usman Sajad? Why would people go and mess around with Ariza? Because of the history and the things they've been involved with and getting in trouble. But setting that aside, they've proven to know how to give fighters an advantage going into a fight. Now, I'm not saying anything illegal is happening. What I'm saying is they know, because they're pharmaceutical geniuses, just what can be done as far as strength, conditioning, supplementation, diet, the proper combination to get a fighter to perform at an optimal level. That's why when I watch Benavidez, I'm like, I don't know. Because when he was fighting Caleb Plant, and they brought on Heredia, David Benavidez, everything about that man changed. He was already a monster, but physically he changed. His power seemed to have intensified. His stamina intensified. His speed intensified. Punch resistance intensified. And I'm like, that shit ain't natural, man. But again, with the right supplementation, it can happen. I'm going to tell you, I even talked about this in a video before. When I was younger, I used to box, used to run marathons, used to lift a lot of weights. And I remember when I used to lift weights, I was naturally strong, man. I remember I don't know, man, I was like 22. This was before. I was 20. 19, 20. Yeah, 19, 20, I didn't know anything about creatine, but taking protein and all that. We were just in the gym lifting weights. And I would put on, I remember we had 225 on the bar, and I repped that shit like 26 times, right? And there was a bunch of us in there repping. And we would just, repetition, man, you know what I'm saying? So I repped that shit like 26 times. And my other buddy hit that shit like 20 sometimes. But we were all strong. But when I left Texas and went to Korea, I was fighting in Korea. I had cut from 205 to 160 for a fight. But then I learned about the NO2 Explode, I think it was. Anyway, I learned about creatine. So I would take a scoop of that pre-workout shit before I went to work out. Because I used to box, and then I would get frustrated because I would get so slim. And I like having my muscles and shit. So then I would, certain parts of the year, get back in the gym. And easy to put that weight back on, you know what I'm saying? And I was taking the creatine. And then I was in the gym, and that shit made a difference, man. And I was like, yo, what is this? So I took that, I always took those pre-workout things, while I was in the gym lifting a lot of weights. I haven't taken any of that shit in like 16, my son be 14, maybe 16 years. I haven't taken none of that shit. Because, for what? You know what I mean? I'm just in there staying in shape now. But what I'm getting at is, the proper supplementation can make a difference in your strength. And when I watch David Benavidez now, he's not the same guy. He was already a monster, but now he's definitely the Mexican monster. Him and Canelo is a fight that I would say, I would have to favor David Benavidez. Some people are like, no, Canelo has the experience. I don't disagree with you. But when I look at the size, the speed, the punch resistance, the punch power, okay, I'd have to favor Benavidez. He throws too many shots, he's durable, he hits hard, and he doesn't stop. Canelo has fatigue issues. And when you put your foot on the gas against Canelo, especially if he can't damage you the way he wants to, Canelo gets on the back foot. You started against Bivol. And word on the street is Benavidez was known for destroying Bivol and sparring. Benavidez don't talk a lot of trash, but all he'll say is Bivol knows what's up. So if Benavidez was destroying Bivol, Bivol destroyed Canelo. Canelo knew that Bivol was a hard fight, and Canelo's like, shit, why would I go out here with this guy and deal with a Bivol 2.0? He don't want that problem. But they need to make that fight because it's an injustice to the fans. It's a travesty. We want to see it. This whole thing about I don't fight a Mexican. Look, Canelo will fight anybody. But he did say he doesn't want to fight Mexicans and shit like that. But we know Canelo will fight anybody, right? But that being said, it's horrible that the fight's not happening. It's horrible that Canelo is fighting Jermall. I think Jermall has a good chance in that fight, but it's not the fight people want to see. People see it as a cherry pick. You can understand why, because Jermall, with the stuff that happened in his personal life, doesn't seem to be 100% there. But I still think it's a good fight, but it's not what we want. And then the fact that Canelo and Terrence Crawford could possibly be after Jermall. Could be Earl Spence. Could be pulling Victor Chinian out of retirement. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get with Canelo. But what I'm saying is, Terrence Crawford deserves a Canelo payday. Terrence Crawford put in work for a long time. He wants to retire. Plus, that's an interesting fight. That fight is more interesting, Crawford-Canelo, than Benavidez-Canelo. Because in Benavidez-Canelo, to me, I think majority of people know what direction that's going to go. Crawford-Canelo, you really don't know. I think Canelo, I think it's, Canelo's going to step to him, but Crawford may hit him with some of them bing-bings. And if he gets through, what happens? But what if he can't damage Canelo? Then what happens? So it's more intriguing. I'm not saying Crawford's a bigger challenge than Benavidez. Hell no. But I'm saying to me, it's more intriguing. And I think that would generate more interest and more buzz. Plus, Crawford is a bigger name. The man's been around for a while, been putting in work, huge accomplishments, and this win against Spence just put Crawford in a whole nother stratosphere. So that being said, we'll see what happens, but I think Benavidez and Canelo should scrap. Berlanga and Pacheco. Look, Berlanga and Pacheco, man, those two guys, man, I don't understand how a person can sit there and look at Pacheco and look at Berlanga and frown at that fight being made. That is the fight to make. Now, you heard Eddie Hearn, he was trying to promise Berlanga a fight with Canelo. Canelo's no longer working with those guys. He may come back over there because Canelo's just going to wherever he needs to make the most money. So Canelo may come back over to Matchroom. But this thing about trying to promise Berlanga a fight with Canelo, I just don't think, and Berlanga's returning to the ring very soon. I'm not so sure Berlanga can handle Canelo. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think he can. I think he still needs some more experience. And he's going to have to figure out his defense, man. He's so offensive-minded. A guy like Canelo is going to step to you, and he's going to make you miss, and Canelo's going to punish you. And it's not going to be fun. But Pacheco is a guy who, to me, is in the same space as Berlanga, where they're making a name for themselves. They're both over there on Matchroom, and they're both doing very well in their careers. But they're not quite ready for Canelo. They're not quite ready for Benavidez. Matter of fact, I don't think either one of them are ready for even a Munguia. But they're ready for each other. And I think if they were to really try to get these guys in position for the bigger names, why not put the two of them against each other? That's an easy fight to make because Eddie Hearn, he controls both of their careers. So Eddie Hearn can easily make that fight. Now, will he do it? I don't know. Pacheco's 20-0. He can't really afford to lose. Berlanga's 21-0. You really don't want to see him lose. But at the end of the day, these fighters carrying undefeated records. That matters, but I don't think it matters as much as these guys getting into tough fights and putting on a good outing. I think that helps to boost their profile and gets them some kind of notoriety. But just going out here and sliding underneath the radar in easy fights, and you pad your record, I get it. Make as much money as you can. I think all fighters should make as much money as you can. But at the same time, if you want to get into those huge fights, you're gonna have to risk some things. So I think the next fight to be made for Berlanga and Pacheco later this year is against each other. That two guys, I think, perfectly matched, and I think it's a great fight. I don't know who I favor in that fight. To me, that's a 50-50 fight. But Pacheco has proven, if you hit me and you hurt me, I'm going to hit you and I'm going to hurt you and I'm going to knock you out. So we just have to see what version of Berlanga shows up in that fight and what happens if he gets hurt. You know what I'm saying? Does he respond? Does he bite? Does he quit? Does he throw a temper tantrum? We don't know. So I say it's a 50-50 fight. Slight edge maybe to Pacheco. Then Munguia and Jermall. Now we know Jermall and Canelo, that's the rumor. We don't know yet, but that's the rumor. But I just think Jermall and Munguia is the fight to make. Because of Munguia, where he's at. Munguia is right there. He's ready to fight Morrell. They're trying to make him against Canelo. They ain't even talking about Benavidez, which I think is a travesty. I think he and Benavidez would be a good fight. But him and Jermall to me is the perfect fight because of where Munguia is with Freddie Roach, learning new things. Nothing being done instinctively right now because he's basically migrating his style from what he had with Eric Morales, right? He's kind of migrating away from that and trying to adapt and blend the stuff he's learning with Freddie Roach. And you saw that when Munguia was fighting John Ryder. He did some great stuff, but it didn't look fluid. Munguia is a free swinger. Arturo Gatti was a free swinger. Munguia wasn't swinging freely against John Ryder. He was thinking. And that means that he was like a little half a second off. And when you get in there with a guy like Canelo or Benavidez, they're going to recognize that. And that half a second off is just all the time in the world for a guy like Canelo to bing you. So I think for Munguia, the next fight, although it looks like it's not going to happen, will be against Jermall, who seems to be trying to get his feet underneath him again, and just come back into boxing and get his momentum going. Because when he fought Jose Benavidez Jr., again, Jermall looked like Munguia did against Ryder. He looked like he was thinking too much. Nothing was happening instinctively. He was like a half a second, a half a second slower than what he normally is. His reaction time, everything was just off by like about a half a second, which against a guy like Canelo Benavidez, that's all the time in the world they need to bing you. So I think the perfect matchup is to take Jermall and Munguia and have them face each other. Now, the winners of those fights should fight each other. I think Munguia beats Jermall, Berlanga beats Pacheco, have them face each other, and then the winner face, Morrell, and then the winner between them and Morrell face the winner of Benavidez and Canelo. But that's just me looking at things, but we know that's not how the shit's going to work because the secret society has other plans. That being said, man, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. But that's the real deal, man. Like, if I could control the matchmaking, these are the fights that I would make. And don't get me wrong, Morrell is out there, but you may say, hey, well, what about Morrell? I'd have Morrell fight Caleb Plant. Like, Morrell is there. Have him fight Caleb Plant. Get in there with Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant's proven, good fighter. He only has that left hand. That's it. He's a one-handed fighter, but I think that's a good fight, man. It's a big name, and they can get busy. Then you got Billy, who's right on the cusp of greatness, man. Billy just needs an opportunity. He's ranked number 1 in the WBA. He's ranked number 1 in the WBC. He's ranked number 3 by the IBF, and he's ranked number 5 by the WBO. So Billy is another one of those guys who's right there. You can easily throw his name in here. But anyway, we'll see how it all works out. But that's my 2 cents on it. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.